always a joy. I'm not sure where that intro came from. I'm always intrigued by where we get the intro. Nice, from the paper. They just automatically generate. Yeah, absolutely. This is, so at the risk of being a little bit distracting from what I'm going to spend our brief time together, I'm only going to speak for about 20 minutes so that we have some time to do a new thing with the small groups. But before I do, I have, I want to share some kind of personal news with all of you, some of which many of you may be aware of. But this is a bittersweet time for me because it is the last time I'm going to be speaking at Doxa as a ministry fellow. I'm leaving staff this summer. There goes your paper, Alan. Alan's devastated already. Yeah, it's a bittersweet time for me. Sweet because I'm excited for what God has next, but hard because I have so loved my time here with all of you. I just adore what I get to do every day with students. God has been so unbelievably gracious to me. I feel just so spoiled by all of you as just those who I get to walk alongside and partner with in the gospel here at Harvard, and our staff is just unbelievable, the team I get to partner with, and so it's just time, for no other reason than it's the right time. There's no, I promise you, no secret, no nothing beyond God just saying this is time. And so I'll be headed to the Midwest. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, probably. Tony's excited. And yeah, it's a first for me, so Tony, you can teach me all the things. I'm working on my accent and my slower pace. Yeah, if you want to talk with either me, of course, or any of the staff members, we'd love to chat with you about it. This is certainly just part of the rhythm of being in campus ministry and in a place where people, where staff have seasons, but praise God, the kingdom of God is eternal. And so I'm just excited to continue to hear what's going on here from afar and for you guys as we move on to what God has next for y'all too. So thank you for letting me share that. And I want to do the awkward transition thing. So I want to tell you a story. There it was. I want to tell you a story. It is one of my favorite stories in Scripture. And it's one of my favorite stories because it's concise and it has all the elements of a great story. And it's also a little, it's removed enough from our daily experience that it can feel distant. But I think with just like a teeny bit of work, we're right back there. So it's a story about three people and their God, three people whose lives intersect and who start to ask questions about welcoming and what it means to belong and to feel left out, to feel like one doesn't belong, to be a refugee. So once upon a time, because that's how all the good stories start, right? Once upon a time there was a man and his wife. His name's Elimelech. We're going to call him Eli because it's a long name. And Naomi, and they're from the land of Judah. And they're living in the time of the Judges, which was a time in Israel's history that was pretty nasty. Like, just gross stuff happening. Government was super corrupt. There was famine going on at the time. And life is brutal, right? The land is dry, crops aren't growing, which means they can't just go to the corner store, right? Eli and Naomi can't make ends meet, and they have two boys. And their boys, no doubt, are kind of growing up in Judah. And you can just imagine Naomi sort of going to the cupboards, and they're getting emptier and emptier, and faces around town are getting longer, and things are tough. And her boys are growing, and the rulers of Israel are not looking out for the impoverished. They're only looking out for themselves, and God is cursing the ground in response to the people's disobedience. They're turning from him. And Naomi knows it because it's included in the law, actually, that for obedience there will be life and abundance and blessings, and crops will grow and animals will have babies and people will have babies. And for disobedience, curse and death and famine and no rain. And so what is one to do? And so they begin talking about it, and one day they hear a rumor that Moab, which is not far away, has food, and famine has not actually hit the pagan neighbors. And so they begin to plan and talk and share their news, and then they leave everything they know. Much like you guys heading to college, right? But with fewer pictures and websites. And they go into this unknown land and are asking, maybe this is the place we can provide for ourselves and make kind of life here. And these people don't know the God of Israel, but after all, everybody's got to eat, right? And so they get to the land, and shortly thereafter, tragedy strikes, and Naomi's husband dies. And the two boys are growing up, but at least she's got her sons. And her sons take wives in this foreign land, and certainly pagan wives, which is a massive no-no if you've read the Old Testament. And yet, it's when in Rome, right? So they take these wives, Orpah and Ruth, and then tragedy strikes again, and both sons die. And so 3 women, one short of Golden Girls, right? And they are hanging out together, and just this is their life, and how do you survive? And you have no man to work the fields and no man to get food. And the most offensive element, I think, to grief is that life keeps going on, and you have to survive and make decisions, and you're in despair, but you've got to eat. And so kind of like a reluctant visitor to her 25th reunion when she's lost her job and gone through a divorce, Naomi says, you know what, maybe we should go back to Israel. And actually, she hears a rumor that God has actually again visited his people, that there's food, and she decides to go home. And she's not as happy as you would imagine, but she sort of packs up her stuff, and her daughters-in-law offer to come. And she says, don't do it. Go home to your people. You're young, you're beautiful, you can still get married. Life is not over for you, it's over for me. I'm not going to be able to provide husbands for you. No, go. And so Orpah does go. And Naomi kisses her and she leaves, but the text says Ruth clings to her mother-in-law. But she sort of like attaches herself to her leg and says, no, I'm going to hang with you. And if you've been to a wedding recently, you might have heard the speech Ruth gives, actually, to Naomi. She says, do not urge me to leave you or return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, right? Lifelong commitment, and there be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me and you. And Naomi, far from being like, that is a gorgeous speech, Ruth, yes, she's just resigned to Ruth's determination, and she's exhausted, and so she, the refugee, returns with Ruth, the foreigner, and they are quite the pair back to Bethlehem, hometown. And so they are just this collection of disenfranchisement. Naomi's apparently unrecognizable. She walks into the town square, and people are like, is that Naomi? That decade had apparently been pretty hard on her, and no Botox, so that's, you know. And her name actually literally translates pleasant. And so they say, is that Naomi? And she says, I mean, yeah, but I'm going to change my name. Just call me Mara, which means bitter. So don't name your kids that. It's a bad idea, right? And she says, for the Lord has dealt bitterly with me. Why call me Naomi when Yahweh has testified against me and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me? Yeah, bitter. Is there anything more distressing than the feeling of not belonging? Perhaps only the feeling of being singled out actively as an enemy, right? The biblical narrative does not comment on the truth or falsehood of whether Naomi is being cursed by God. But it does deeply honor her voice in that moment. Because she feels herself cursed by God. And her circumstances make some sense of that. Right? God could save. This is what we've been learning about. And yet here I am, and I feel like God's hand is actively against me. But Naomi's story's not over, and she and Ruth settle into daily life, right? And Ruth is getting used to the new customs of life and worship in Judah, and she learns, no doubt, about this custom called gleaning that's built into the Mosaic Law. And it means essentially it was the welfare system of ancient Israel. God set up in the law this system whereby if you had land and crops, you were not allowed to harvest it all the way up to the edge. You had to leave a significant amount of edge so that those who didn't have land of their own, crops of their own, right, could go and glean around the edges. And they took that for their own. So they were working for it, but it wasn't their land. So there's this kind of welfare. It's actually, I think, a beautiful system. And so there is in that provision something that Ruth spies and says, okay, great, I'm going to get on this. And she's got to care for herself and Naomi, and I'm doubting Naomi is like either physically can't or just is not in a position where she can go out and take part in this. So Ruth finds herself in the field of Boaz, another name you might want to consider rather than there. Boaz is a wealthy landowner, and it turns out he's like this really amazing boss. Like in the narrative, he walks in and he's like, hey guys, right? Like he's like the guy who walks through the factory and he knows everybody's name, or through the office, right? Like he's not trying to be too cool for school. Like he's just right in there later in the narrative. Like he does the hard work alongside his men. Like this is a model citizen, a model boss, and he starts to ask questions. He sees Ruth and he's like, who's that? And starts asking questions, and they begin to share kind of, hey, we know this. She's been here. She's a hard worker. She's actually from Moab. Eyebrows raised, right? She's not an Israelite. But here's her story. And he hears that, and he begins immediately to offer her protection. She's vulnerable. She's a young woman. There was a high incidence and possibility for sexual assault in that situation, as you might imagine. These women out in the fields working and men working alongside of them. And Boaz says, hey, Ruth, he pulls her aside and says, stick with my young women. They'll protect you. Hang out in a group. And so she gets safety and protection. And then he gives her food and water and says, hey, come eat with us. And bread and then wine in their kind of meal together after harvesting. It was a very unusual opportunity for Ruth. And so Ruth eats and is satisfied, and then she actually takes home all of this barley. She comes back to Naomi at the end of the day, and she has 8 gallons of barley, which is a lot. I don't know a lot about barley, but that's a lot. And she's got leftovers from dinner, which I do know a lot about. So like both options are there, and Naomi's like, where were you? Whose fields did you find? And Ruth says, actually this guy, Boaz. And Naomi says, oh, Boaz. May Boaz be blessed by Yahweh, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead. What does that mean? The dead? Is she calling herself dead? Like who's the dead in this situation? Which is, we have to take kind of a brief detour into the Mosaic Law. So Naomi is rejoicing because Boaz is a close relative and he's a redeemer. Which, if you've been in church at all or sang a worship song ever in your life, you hear that and you're like, Jesus, right? It actually comes originally